All right, parents, I am talking to you with this video if you literally feel like you've tried everything to get your kiddo better and you are running left and you're running right and you're running all over the place to these different appointments, to these different specialists, to these different therapists. You've tried these different diets, you've tried these different medications, you've tried these different essential oils, you've tried these different supplements, right? You're just exhausted. And when you look at each of these things you have tried or are trying right now to help your kiddo get better with their neurological stuff, their immune stuff, their gut stuff, whatever challenge your kiddo is going through, this video really relates to parents today trying to navigate both the traditional healthcare system with all the different doctors and all the different specialists and all the different, options to go down inside just the medical system. And then you get into the natural world and you start learning all about those things. And there's just so much. And each of them individually, it probably makes sense, right? You're like, hey, I got to work on their gut. There's a gut-brain connection, the gut and the immune system. That's just one example of 100 we could go through within the context of this video. But this video is going to change the life of so many kids and so many parents because you're doing all the right things. But the question I want you to be able to ask yourself, it's kind of a question you didn't even know to ask, but we'll answer with this video is, am I doing everything in the right order or in the right sequence? See, now this is a video that needs to get in front of millions of parents, and it actually needs to get in front of millions of practitioners as well. What I'm about to teach you here on the iPad in a minute or two is something I had no clue about. See, when I went through all my pediatric training and all my chiropractic training and all my natural health training, I went in a zillion different directions. I literally built a clinic where we did all these different things for kids, and we did it all at once. And we didn't know what was working and what wasn't. And that's what time and clinical experience taught me is, hey, there is a lot of good things we can do to help our kiddos. In fact, what we're really going to focus on with this video is all of the drug-free, non-pharmaceutical things we can do to help our kiddos. But the key, the magic, literal key to unlocking the health and the healing of your child is to not only get all the right things, but to get them in the right order. I grew up playing baseball, so I love the concept of the batting order, and you've got to do the right things first and then second and then third. So what we're going to do here is we're going to switch over to the iPad. I'm going to teach you the sequence of what we call neurodevelopment or the hierarchy of neurodevelopment. I know how nerdy that sounds. I promise I'll bring my Iowa farmer English to it and we'll keep it really simple. So we're going to look at how a healthy child would develop optimally. What would the order, what would be the pecking order or the batting order of a healthy developing, everything going great child? And then we'll take a look at what we call the perfect storm, which is where does it get off track? Where does that stress? Where does that toxicity? Where do those traumas come in? And where does it throw things off? And what you're going to find is that the core foundation, the first foundational step that needs to happen to get your child healing and get them all the way healing is the step that most parents are missing, most practitioners are unaware of. So this is not a video here, parents, that you were supposed to know. This is not in the parent handbook, which, by the way, still doesn't exist, right? And so this is something that'll change your life for your kiddo, especially if you've done seemingly 17 to 170 things and you still don't have that full healing and that full response that you want to see with your kiddo. Please watch this one all the way through. And before I even switch over to the iPad, please ask any questions or ask anything you need in the comments below. Please share this video with another family you know who's run into PT, OT, speech, this doctor, this supplement, that diet, that vitamin, that detox, that oil. And it almost is like you don't even know which step to take next. This video is for you. Let's switch over. Let's get after it. Let's dig in. All right. So on the iPad, you are seeing something that is about as nerdy as it gets, and we're going to make it as simple as it gets. We're looking at what we teach in our when we teach our other pediatric neurologically focused chiropractors. This is a core foundation of our clinical protocols and the work that we do when we teach them. So I want to teach it to you as a parent because it's super important to understand the optimal path so then you can see where, and really I guess I should say when, or almost what layer of this development did your child stress, did their storm hit that threw them off track and is causing them to be sick and out of balance and sick and stressed and anxious and sensory or autism or ADHD or whatever the diagnosis. Whatever the label is, you're going to find answers with this video. So let's break down the good path, and then we'll show you where the perfect storm comes in, throws kids off the path. And then most importantly, at the end of this video, we'll say, okay, we got that. We figured that out. How do we get them back on track? And that's what this whole video is about, is getting kids back on track in the right order. So the first most important thing for our children's health is what we call the autonomic, and you can also use the word central nervous system in an interchangeable way here. We can also just call it the nervous system. So at the base of our health pyramid here, the nervous system, brain-based developmental pyramid or hierarchy, without a doubt, the foundation of our health as God designed us is our nervous system. There's a saying by Dr. Bruce Lipton is his name, just awesome cellular biologist, researcher. I use this quote all the time in all of our workshops and a lot of our videos. And it says the function of the nervous system is to perceive the environment and coordinate the behavior of all other cells. Now that's a lot of words in that definition or description of how the nervous system works, but I want you to focus on the word that was in there, 3 little letters, ALL. The nervous system controls all other systems. It's home base. It's air traffic control. It's, as I always like to joke, but mean at the same time, it's the mom of the body. It knows everything, controls everything, coordinates everything, regulates everything, keeps track of everything. So the central and autonomic nervous system is the boss. Second most important, so these are literally in the hierarchy of the health of the body. This is neurodevelopment broken down. The second next most important thing is the motor system, the muscular system. You as a parent, if you're in the perfect storm world with any neurological, neurodevelopmental challenges, speech delays, sensory challenges, autism spectrum challenges, you know all about PTOT speech, and they've probably talked to you awesomely, accurately, a lot about how important motor tone, muscle tone is. And maybe they've talked about how your child has low tone, low motor tone, a weak core. Maybe they've talked about hypertonicity. No matter which direction you're looking at with your kiddo, whether they have some areas of hypertonicity, which looks like stemming, arching, even a colicky baby will show hypertonicity, developmental neurological challenges because they're arching, they're stiffening. So literally a colicky baby is a neurological problem. And so you have hypertone or you have low tone, the child who really is just missing out on motor milestones and development. So number 2, motor tone, coordination, and milestones and development is crucial. Number 3 is gut health. Now, the gut really connects to the immune system, and the gut really connects to the brain. So we're going to draw another quick little triangle because so much information on pages and on websites and in places like where you're going to find this video, they will talk a lot about the gut immune connection and the gut brain connection. So what I find in today's world is most moms and dads who go down the natural health route, they think that the first step they need to take to get their kiddos healing and all the way healthy is to go after the gut. And man, is that awesome. Man, is that barking in the right direction, or what's the phrase there? Barking up the right tree. But what I want to show you here is the motor system. So therapies, movement-based therapies, PTOT. And then gut health, natural health, integrative health, that's going after the gut. Those are absolutely going after the core. And what I'll kind of use the analogy, I'll stick with the tree analogy, the trunk of the tree. And the trunk is crucial. But you know what's even more important than the trunk of the tree or the roots, the branches? So the trunk would be the gut and the immune system, and the branches would be the motor system, is the roots. So what I really want you to think of is that the central nervous system is really, central and autonomic nervous system is really the root of our health. It's how God designed us. It's how a baby develops. It's how health develops. And then from there, it controls the gut, the immune system, and we can also kind of really put in the motor system in this. So there goes my triangle and there goes my spelling. But when you see how all this connects together, the nervous system controls and modulates the gut first before the gut reports back to the brain. So there's a gut-brain connection, but first there's a brain-gut connection. The motor system reports back to the brain and gives it information through sensory processing, but the brain controls the muscles first. And same with the immune system. The nervous system modulates inflammation and mucus production and these things. So this system right here, the central and autonomic nervous system, is the most important system. So before we're done with this iPad and before we're done with this video, if that's the good path from nervous system, autonomic, central foundation, to motor system, to gut and immune system, then we get to the good stuff. Then we get to the big stuff, and we get to behavior. We get to emotions. We get to social. We get to speech and communication. We get to focus, memory, cognition. We get to decision making, which obviously really regulates to behavior. So these are all brain-based functions that come after. So you have base neurology, autonomic nervous system. Then you've got motor milestones. Then you've got gut and immune health. We call these the basics of neurodevelopment to then get to the brain. So if you take all of this, you can simplify it into two stages. The basics need to develop over the first 6 months to 12 months, really kind of the first 1 to 3 years of life. It's all about the basics or the building blocks of good health and neurology. And then you get to the big stuff of speech, communication, emotional regulation, sensory processing, decision-making, learning, and socialization. And so this takes time to go through this journey. And the last thing we want to teach you, so we're going to switch to red, because red is the warning signs, right? Where could this go wrong? First, this system is most sensitive to stress of all kinds, but it's the most sensitive to emotional or mental stress. So what we see is a lot of children's nervous systems are already altered on their developmental course through emotional stress from maybe a tough fertility journey or a tough pregnancy in the way of mental and emotional stress. So that early development period, still in utero, or sometimes even before, the first thing to develop for the baby in utero is the central and autonomic nervous system. And because that nervous system is very sensitive to fight or flight, sympathetic, emotional, and mental stress, we find in this research, in science, and in practice, and in taking case histories, that the first trauma, the first stress that goes into a child's nervous system actually happens during the fertility and the pregnancy journey. Now, what about the motor system? So we could also kind of nickname that second layer the physical system. Well, this is where birth intervention, which when you really study it and you really learn about it and you really know about emergency C-sections, even sometimes regular C-sections, forceps, vacuum, induction birth, is it's really birth trauma that will create a lot of physical tension and a lot of twisting and a lot of pulling on the critical area around the neck and the spine and the cranial system that protects the brain, that protects the brainstem, and protects the spinal cord. So birth trauma, in my opinion, is the single biggest missing link in all of healthcare, because birth trauma comes in and disrupts both of these systems. And that central nervous system, autonomic nervous system, must be healthy for the gut and the immune system to be healthy. So when you have neuromotor problems, you have gut motility, respiratory drainage problems. So you have a child who's going to not get crap out of the body so easily. And then when we throw more junk and more toxins at them than ever before, and they're already stressed, the term we have for all of this we've been talking about is subluxated, they don't have much chance to be healthy. So the reason we spent 10 minutes here on the iPad with all these arrows and all these colors and all these triangles is to tell you this. Most families, when they realize that they've tried perhaps a medication or a supplement for this, again, usually if you've gone the medication route for ADHD, anxiety, these things, that medication is going after the chemical substrate of that brain-based behavior, but it's not giving getting anywhere close to the root cause. So what a lot of families seek to do is to find the root cause, to really go down that. That is the generation we're in, and I love it, and I'm cheering it on, and we're going after these root causes, and we're going from the symptoms to the trunk of the tree, but we got to get to the roots. We got to get all the way down here. So if you've been going after gut health, if you've been going after diet changes and detoxes and supplements and essential oils, and you've been limiting toxins in your child's environment and in their foods and in their cleaners and everything else, my goodness, you're doing a great job. And you're getting so close to the true root cause. And if you're doing PT and OT and speech therapy, you're doing an amazing job, and you're getting into that motor system, and they're doing everything they can through those movement-based exercises to get that system, the tone and the coordination and the brain function within it to be better. But a lot of times almost all the time, we talk to families who have gone down all the diet changes, all the detoxes, all the supplements, all the vitamins, all the therapies. And again, a lot of families, not as many anymore, thankfully, we get to meet them before they try medications. But it seems like you're running out of options. It seems like what else could even be out there to get my child better? Well, that is where neurologically focused pediatric and family chiropractic comes in. The one profession that really goes all the way deep into the roots of your child's health, the roots of their neurophysiological, gastro-immunological, motor development. I could kind of hyphen this whole thing we just showed on the iPad. The nervous system is the boss. And when we look at what we call the perfect storm, which shows us that maternal distress and fertility challenges show up in about 60 to 80% of cases of kids who have autism and neurological challenges later on, and that birth intervention and birth trauma to the upper neck and brainstem occur in about 85 to 90% of those cases. Well, then we can see through both case history and the neurology we just went through on the iPad that we can't really expect full and complete healing for a child until we go all the way back to square one, until we go all the way back to the first thing in the hierarchy of health, and we work on getting it healthy. It's honestly that simple. If we're working on the gut, we're close, but we're not all the way there. If we're working on the muscles, we're close, but we're not all the way there. If we're working on the brain with counseling, psychiatry, psychology, we're not all the way there. We've got to get all the way into the central and autonomic nervous system. And that's exactly what the protocols we designed and we do through this neurologically based chiropractic within our practice, within the PX Docs network that we've trained all over the world. And we know exactly how to make neurologically what we call neurotonal adjustments. So our adjustments use the base of that pyramid. We're able to use the neuromotor connections through the neurospinal system into the brain, into the gut, into the immune system. And by accessing that system, the nervous system, we can access every system. And so people often hear about pediatric chiropractic and neurologically focused chiropractic, and they go, okay, that sounds too good to be true. How can one thing have that many improvements? Our patients experience improvements in sleep, improvements in gut function, improvements in emotional regulation, behavioral function, energy, hormones, everything. Like the list goes on. And people go, how? That iPad just showed you how, because we start with and work within that central nervous system. And when you start there, you influence and improve the function of all other systems of the body, because that's how the nervous system works. That's how it's designed. And if your child went through one, two, or some or all of those perfect storm steps, and the sequence of the perfect storm is the sequence of the nervous system getting off track first, then the motor system, then the gut, then the immune system, and then the brain. So to get your child all the way better, you got to go all the way back to the foundation and work on that central and autonomic nervous system. And we have tons more information about the nervous system, about dysautonomia, which is where that autonomic nervous system gets off track, about subluxation, which causes it to get off track, about the perfect storm, which causes subluxation and dysautonomia, about the vagus nerve. I could go on and on. On our website, www.pxdocs.com, on this page and all over, we have tons of information about the nervous system and about neurodevelopmental health. We strongly feel that families need a third option to get all the way better. Traditional medical Awesome. Emergency crisis intervention, best in the world. Health, healing, and restoration, they're not so good at it. Natural health, integrated health, functional, nutritional health, fantastic. Gets to the branches, gets to the trunk of the tree. But if you need to get the roots to the first foundational step of your child healing, you got to get to a neurologically focused pediatric and family chiropractor. And you can learn all about it, and you can access our directory on our website, pxdocs.com. We'll link all sorts of other articles, all sorts of other guides. We have tons of guides about sensory and sleep and everything else you can download. We do webinars. I'll be done after this. I'm telling you, we've got resources. We've got answers. We've got help. And I just want to finish with this. Don't give up hope. If this video in that first 2 minutes really hit you right in your soul because you've tried seemingly everything, maybe this one thing we taught you about here on this video, neurologically focused chiropractic, is actually the missing link you've been searching and scrolling for. If there's one thing I love about us parents, we never give up hope. We never give up on our kiddos. And this video, I hope, found you and showed you that you've been doing all the right things, but maybe missing one thing and you need to get them in the right order and the right sequence and the right hierarchy. We're here to help you do just that. Ask any questions below, send us a DM. Please share this video with another family that needs it. And as soon as you're ready, get to our website, learn more, get to the directory, find your local PX doc. We are here for you with hope, answers, and help always.